Hello, everyone. Welcome to FlexLets Summer Learning with CK-12. I'm Lindsay, and my colleague Carl and I will be running today's webinar with the help of many of our CK-12 team members. We're glad you've joined us, and we're looking forward to an interactive session. Just a few reminders about our Zoom webinar platform. We have two different windows in Zoom that we'll be using during today's webinar. If you have questions that you want the CK-12 team to answer, either by text or in a demo, please type those questions in the Q&A window. We'll answer questions throughout the webinar, and we'll stay on at the end to field any unanswered questions. The second window you should see is the chat window. I know you all have been using that so far. This is a place for community conversation. This is where we would love for you to introduce yourselves, to network, to share ideas. Just make sure that you send your messages to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your comments. You actually need to change it so it doesn't go to just panelists, but it goes to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your messages. Finally, we'd like to remind everyone that an archived video of today's webinar will be available tomorrow at ck12.org/webinars. You can rewatch any part of the webinar or share it with a friend. Now, let me pass it over to Carl, who's going to tell us what we'll be learning in today's webinar.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. Well, welcome to everybody. I can see in the chat window that you're coming to us from all corners of the earth, which is wonderful. I saw Indonesia, Ecuador, Morocco, like a lot across the United States. So a big welcome to all of you, and thank you for all the work that you're doing in trying to keep education alive, and more importantly, keep the learning happening. And I think that's what we're here to talk about today, is how do we keep our brains active, more importantly, our students' brains active. We have a lot going on in the world right now, and I think education, we know, is always going to be the answer. So congratulations to everybody. So now we are going to talk about our brand new FlexLets that we have designed to help your students throughout the summer to review what they've learned this year and also to get ready for the next school year. These FlexLets offer assignments and activities to keep students engaged and also support learning at any level. And we're going to show you how to support your students with FlexLets to keep the learning going over the summer. For those of you who'd like additional support, we also offer FlexLets through our classes and assignments feature, and this will help you track your students' progress as they learn throughout the summer. Finally, we're going to cover how you can help CK-12 spread the word about FlexLets. We've created a really great way to learn, and we need your help telling other people about it. The new FlexLets, like all of our resources on CK-12, are totally free. You won't see any advertising anywhere on our site. You'll never hit a paywall, and there's no like upgraded version if you subscribe. CK-12 is free for everybody. So let's dig in and find out more about these FlexLets. So we're going to begin with learning how to support our children and students with FlexLets. A few months ago, our great content team here at CK-12 started to deeply think about what are students going to need this summer after such a crazy year and in preparation for another school year. What they came up with brings together the best of the CK-12 learning platform: quality content, great interactives, and our intelligent adaptive practice system. Then they packaged it in what we're now calling FlexLets. So when we were thinking about summer learning for students, we started with our Flexbooks, which is our flagship product that we're known for and that are used throughout the school year by students around the world. But in the FlexLets, we decided to focus on the key concepts. Thus, they're the perfect size for completing in the summer. Our goal with them is to help your students review the most important things from this school year and also to preview some key concepts coming up in the next year. And then we offer them all in the CK-12 way, totally free to everyone around the world. Our summer FlexLets will help your student review the math and science they've been learning. It will also preview some important topics they will face in the coming school year. Here you can see for math, we have prep for 7th and 8th grades, prep for high school, and a review of algebra and a review of geometry. For science, we offer FlexLets, which will help review and prep for courses like Earth, Life, and Physical Science, and then biology, chemistry, and physics. At this time, we don't have any FlexLets for elementary, but we'd love to find some partners to work together with you to help create them. You will find some math review on our site, and also there's some science readers that are available. But we do most of our stuff on for the summer FlexLets is for middle school and high school in math and science. We thought it would be best to hear from the two people that spearheaded the FlexLet creation project. For math, we have our own Laramie Spence, and for science, we have Heather Douglas. Laramie, can you please tell us more on how you put together the math FlexLets and how should students use them?
Absolutely. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate the invite here. I am the math lead at CK-12. I help develop the content here, and my team and I were kind of sitting down earlier on, and we decided to create these summer FlexLets after discussing the trouble that students were running into with all of the crazy changes in our world lately. So we sat down, took a look at the content that we have, and picked from our newest and most advanced courses, our material that we felt would be the best summary and review of past content, and also preview content for what students are going to be doing when they go into class again this fall. We wanted to help make up for that lost time. All of the FlexLet lessons that we chose are from our new kind of flagship FlexBook 2 programs. And they're very deeply interactive, they're very engaging. They include inline questions that allow the students to sort of learn the material with a hands-on, kind of a handshake feedback system that gives the students immediate feedback every time they answer a question. Not just positive, but also sort of negative, if they have a question that they get wrong, it tells them why they got it wrong so they can understand what was incorrect in their thinking, so they can really be able to build on that in the future. All of our classes have additional resources. They have support material for parents and teachers. The adaptive practice gives them additional practice for the material that they learn through the lesson with that inline question. Middle school students are given courses that are based on the courses that they're headed into. So if a middle school student is preparing for class this fall, they should choose the class that they're headed into. If they're a 6th grade student, they should choose the 7th grade book. If they're a 7th grade student, they should choose the 8th grade book. We also have the courses put together for high school. High school students should choose the FlexLets that are built for the class that they just finished. So if a student just finished Algebra 1, they would do the algebra class. If they just finished geometry, they would do the geometry class. Those books are built more as sort of a review of what they might have missed so that they're prepared for whatever math class they're coming up with next.
Well, that sounds great, Laramie. Thanks so much. I think, we've got a lot of people that would benefit by using the FlexLets over the summer. So before we go live, we're going to go live and take a look at the FlexLets and do a demo on that. But before we do, let's hear from our science lead, Heather Douglas, to tell us about the science FlexLets.
Thanks, Carl. Hi, everyone. To create our science FlexLets, my team and I looked at which lessons were most popular among students and teachers. We then had domain experts and teachers review the lessons to make sure they were representative of all the critical concepts covered in a given course. So you can think of the science FlexLets as a crash course in a particular subject. As such, we would suggest having students pick the FlexLet that matches the course they will be heading into this fall. However, if you feel your students really struggled this past year and could use a confidence boost, the FlexLets can also be used for the class they just completed. Lastly, it should be noted that the size of the science lessons are smaller than those lessons in math. So students can typically finish approximately 2 to 3 lessons in a given hour. This is also why you'll notice in the science FlexLets, there are more lessons than in a math FlexLet. That's all.
Great. Well, that sounds great. So thanks to both Heather and Laramie, and they're going to stay on and answer your questions in the Q&A window. Once again, if you do have any questions, please don't put them in the chat window if you want CK-12 to answer them. We've got a great team with us, including Miru, Monique, Tuscany, and then also Laramie and Heather are answering questions. We've got group together to really make sure that you get all your questions answered. And we will be staying on after the webinar's over and answering every single question. So please, sit back, relax now, and then when you do have some questions, throw them into the chat window, the Q&A window. So as a parent, I'm constantly looking for resources that can help my son that aren't going to be a lot of work for me, the parent, because he's the one that needs to do the learning, not me. And I have a few other jobs to do. So I think it's important that you can definitely have a class, and you can do, and we'll talk about that in a second, assignments. But I think the easiest way to go with this is to just have your student log in and begin working, and you monitor through them. So the first step is to choose which FlexLet is the right one for your student. And you're going to do that by going to our homepage and clicking on the kind of Summer Learning Learn More button there. Start with one and then maybe add, start with math and then add science, or start with a science one, and then when they get a little momentum in creating the habit, then add on the math. Browse the options and ask them which one would they like to start with. Next, ask them what time of day they'd like to do their CK-12 FlexLet work. Schedule the time and help them stick to that time. Help them create the habit of practicing. Then you can use the table of content on their FlexLet to show what they've started, and it offers a glimpse of what they're doing. To see how deep they got into a concept and whether they got to the medium and hard questions, you'll have to go click inside to the lesson and look at their practice. To make your life easier, one way you can see progress is to have your student take a picture on their smartphone of the results after they've practiced, and they can text it to you. Here, this is an example of the thing that we suggest that they take a picture of. You can see here that they answered 10 questions, and they got 9 of the 13 easy questions right and 1 of the hard ones. So it indicates in the skill level here that they're developing, and they might need to do more work even though they've achieved their practice goal of 100%, meaning it's like an effort grade. And you can also see here that they spent 8 minutes on this. So the question is, are they done learning? And it looks to me like they need to practice this concept a little bit more. Just because they have a 100% doesn't mean they're finished with the lesson. Once again, think of that as an effort grade, and they just need to put in a little bit more effort to learn this concept. The good news is that we've included a special guide for the students and also one for the parents in the first chapter of each FlexLet. And so what I'd like to do now is we're going to go and take a look at the CK-12 website, and we'll see how this works. And I'm going to share my screen. And I think at this point you should be seeing here. Now, if you don't know how to get to this page, once again, you can always go to CK-12.org, and then you'll see it here throughout the summer, right here in a banner, Learn More. So this is the browse page for all the FlexLets that we are offering. And just as a reminder too, if you want to share the FlexLets with other people, this would be a great URL to email out to other people. Also, you might encourage them to join us next Tuesday when I'll be doing this webinar again. And Lindsay and the whole team here will be back to get more people informed about FlexLets and how to use them. So once again, as a parent or as a teacher, you can come to this page and with your student, choose which one of these FlexLets would be most appropriate. Okay, and so for example, let's say I'm going into 7th grade next year. I've just completed 6th grade. And in the United States here, that means you're probably 12 or 11 years old. So I'm going to click in, and there's the FlexLet. And you'll see here that we have the table of contents. And this is one that my student has already started working on, and we'll go through that in a second. But I want to point out here, the first chapter is a really great getting started chapter. So it'll have information to students, it'll have information for parents and teachers, and then there's like a parent guide and a teacher guide and even some tips and tricks. So definitely, if you are going to use this FlexLet with your student, read through these and get some helpful hints from us. And then we have, like in this FlexLet, we have 4 different chapters with a variety of lessons in each one. And there's even, for the math books, parent or teacher editions that have answers and even guided suggestions if you wanted to be more involved in what your students are experiencing as part of the lessons. So let's go in here right now. And my son's name is Corbin, and I can see that Corbin in the first chapter here has definitely met the practice goal of 100% on the first 2 lessons, and then he's currently working on this lesson right here. So let's go in and maybe see a little bit more of what he did. So this is the start page to the lesson, and we always offer to the students that they can come in, and if they're not ready to kind of learn a lesson, they might want to watch a video or do an interactive. So here we have some Plix interactives, and we also have a variety of videos. Or if they're ready, they can just click start. And now they've entered into CK-12's really great lessons. And you can see this is a lesson that explains, this one is about adding and subtracting decimals using the standard method, which is kind of lining up those decimal points. So as we go through here, you'll see there's some interactives here, and then these inline questions allow your student to kind of get over struggles along the way by giving them feedback on wrong answers. So, you know, I could type in different things here, and then it's going to give me specifically feedback on what I've done there. And so it's a great way when they're learning independently over the summer to not feel stuck or like they're in this alone, because the CK-12 platform is there to really help them along so they can learn exactly what they need. And in this case, maybe review some of the things from this past school year that maybe they didn't fully understand. You can see there's some widgets here, and there's just a variety of really cool things for your students to do that are very effective in helping them more deeply understand what's going on. So after they complete this lesson, then they went and it'll say start practicing here. But in this case, since Corbin's already done this lesson, we're going to say view the report. And this is where I can see he spent 5 minutes. He got to the mastery level. He got 10 out of the 11 questions right. And I can see at the different levels how many he got right. And then I can even see his exact answers on all of the questions. So I can see here on the first try, he typed this, and then he got the right answer the second try. So there's a lot of great information available to you if you'd like it. And as I said, if your student is doing this, one of the easiest ways for the parent to kind of follow up is just have the student pull out their camera phone and take a picture just of this part right here, and it will tell you a lot of information of how they're doing. We're going to go back into the lesson now, and I wanted to point out too that I saw there was a question at one point about other languages, and the text in our Flex books can be translated to all of the Google Translate languages. So here they are right here, and obviously a very popular one for me in California here is Spanish, and here they are. And so immediately that page gets translated into whatever language you specify, and it even kind of changes everything else on the website too. But for the benefit of those people who don't speak Spanish, we're going to go back to English here. So what you've seen here is you've seen how we can go and we can see our students' progress, but I want to show you one thing to watch out for. Let's go back to this lesson, and we're going to go into this one right here, the second one that he did. And I'm going to click in. And once again, you're doing this on, let's say, the computer that they use to do this. I'm going to view the report here. Now, let's look this time and see, okay, so Corbin answered 10 out of the 13 questions correct, but they didn't get very far. They got a lot of the easy ones and only 2 medium. I'm not sure they fully explored the practice here. So I think the idea here is maybe he needs to work on it a little bit more so that he has more questions answered in the medium and hard range. So I'm probably going to tell Corbin, hey, you know what, bud, I think you need to keep working a little bit on this lesson on 2.2 and until you get kind of more of the more difficult questions to make sure you understand it. And since this is review, you should be able to get there. So I think that's kind of it for right now on the demo. And we're going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to talk about using CK-12 class and assignment features for those people who want additional information on their students' progress. And once again, as I said earlier, you can have a class on CK-12 of one person, like your child, okay? And the benefit, we call it a class though, because that's how we've set up our platform, but it's fine if you put one class, or maybe if you have students at different levels and that are going to be doing different FlexLets, you know, because you have different kids of different ages, go ahead and create a class for each one of them. So that's what we're going to take a look at here. So, so far, the way that we've described using our FlexLets is having your student use CK-12 on our website. They log in and they do the work. But if you, the parent, also want to log in, you can be in charge of the work that your student does, and you can see progress that they're making without them having to text you pictures of the results. So here's an overview of the extra steps that you would take if you'd like to manage their progress on CK-12. Remember, this part is optional, but it gives you more control and gives you more information. So the first thing you'll do as a parent is, or a teacher, is you'll log in and set up an account on CK-12 and go and make a class for CK-12. Then you'll add your student as the member of that class. Then choose lessons from the FlexLet that you want to assign to your student. And for each lesson, you do have to create a separate assignment. There's no way of bundling those together. And that way we can give you feedback on each, assignment or each lesson. You will also assign start and stop dates. So that is one thing. And you might want to vary those so that they're not all starting on the same day and ending on the same day, so that your student understands the order of which you want them to do it. After they're done, you can click on reports in the CK-12 class and see lots of information, all that great information that we saw about time spent in developing and which questions they missed. All that is available without having to go to your student's account. You can access it through your own account. It's just a little bit more complex to do it this way. So additional information is available in the lesson, like time spent on the lesson and their skill level. In addition, you have access to practice results. And if you're going to choose this method of setting up a class, you have to learn a few things in the beginning, but the payoff is there. And we have on CK-12 a variety of webinars to show you how to do this, and we also have a really great help section. So this is something that you could think about doing. It kind of depends on how much time you want to devote to this. It might just be you want to have your student do this and have it be separate, and you don't want to have to log in. Or if you have the time to be able to be more involved, we offer that way too. All right. Finally, I'd like to share a few ways you can help CK-12 by sharing FlexLets with your friends and family. So help us spread the word. For teachers, we ask that you email all of your parents of your current students and share the URL of the FlexLet that works best for the course that you've just been teaching. Tell them about the parent guide, which will teach them how to guide their students. Also, feel free to share the archived recording of this webinar. That there's already one available on the webinars page right now. So ck12.org/webinars, and you can share the FlexLet webinar with them. For parents, we encourage you to email your friends and family to get their own kids practicing this summer using FlexLets. And let's get everyone ready for the next school year. Finally, we would really appreciate it if you could write a Facebook or a Twitter post about using FlexLets with your students. Or even just today, write one saying, hey, I found out about this great resource. I'm gonna have my kids do it this summer. Let's get a lot of people doing this. And the way that you're going to help spread the word is make sure to tag at CK-12 Foundation, and then also the hashtags FlexLet and Summer Learning will also get people there. But this helps us a lot because you have great networks out there, and when we all discover something that works, something especially is free and is doable and that the students like doing, we've got to share it with other people. So with that, that's kind of the overview. And as I said, I'm happy to answer your questions or even do a little demo of like setting up a quick class. So, we'll wrap this up and then we'll stay on for as many questions as you have. So Lindsay, let's hear about the future webinars.
Absolutely. We do have a couple webinars coming up, one as soon as tomorrow. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock Pacific time, we are talking about how to customize CK-12 Flexbooks and adaptive practice. This is part of our Certified Educator program. I know I saw a few questions come in the Q&A about our Certified Educator program. You can go to ck12.org/certified to learn more about it. We require attendance in 3 live webinar sessions. One we ran last week on our Flexbook platform. The second one is this customizing CK-12 Flexbooks and adaptive practice. And then the third in the series is strategies for using CK-12. That's on Thursday, June 18th. You're welcome to jump in at any time, view any webinar in any order. Like I said, to get more information about the Certified Educator program, go to ck12.org/certified.
And Lindsay, how much do those webinars cost?
Like everything, Carl, they're free.
Okay, yeah, okay. I get that now.
We do want to thank all of you for joining us today. Carl is taking a look at the Q&A window right now to see what questions he needs to answer live with our team or do a demo. If you have further questions of how we can help you as you're using FlexLets this summer, you can email support@ck12.org. And like Carl said, we are on all the social medias as CK12 Foundation. We appreciate you following us and spreading the word. So let me toss it back over to Carl and we'll see what questions await us.
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and take the screen from you, Lindsay, if that's okay. And let's go do some more demos. We've got interesting questions come in. I'm just going to run through a couple of these here. Some questions about the next webinar. And I think the idea here is, I'm not on the right window. There we go. I want to show you this. To get to the webinars, I always go under the Explore menu. And you can see a lot of direct access here for some of the best parts of CK-12. And one of them is webinars. And let's go check this out here. And indeed, you can see that tomorrow at 10 a.m. is another one. And so if you want to do the Certified Educator program, you can start with this one. There is the first one in this series, but you're welcome to join tomorrow and come in at this moment. Also, we have a variety of other webinars coming up that you might want to mark on your calendar. And these are going to be really useful to get you going. And then, of course, we have archived recordings of all of our webinars that we've done. And these are a great place if you want to find out about CK-12 today, let's go do it. So lots of great information here. So I can see there's a couple questions about enrolling teachers wondering how would they manage their class. Well, as a teacher, you might have a class already on CK-12, or if you're a parent, you just want to create one class with your one student in it. This is how you do it. So you can come here under classes and there's a plus sign here. And this means you have an option of joining a class or creating a class. So I'm going to create one here and I'm going to call this Sample Summer Learning Fun. And it's going to create that class now. And there it is right there. And it's telling you, there's a little class code here, which if you want to share that then with your students, and then they can join the class, but I can show you another way to do that too. So it's telling me that the class is empty and I can add students by copying this email here, and the email has a specific link to add them to your class automatically. And this is probably the way I see teachers using this the most, or parents, to have their student say, okay, go create an account on CK-12 using your email, or just create a username and password. You don't even need an email. And then here's your link to go join. And that will populate your class. And then once you've done that, you would just navigate over to the FlexLet that you want to assign. And let's say I'm a biology teacher and I'm going to go assign some of the biology lessons. So let's go to the Prep for Biology. And I'm going to go and assign the first couple sections here, scientific method. Now, if you use an LMS, you can assign to Google Classroom, but also Schoology and Canvas. That still works with FlexLets the way it does with our regular Flexbooks. All you have to do is come here, click Assign, and you can do your Google Classroom. Or if you're a parent that just made a class on CK-12, you can click right here on CK-12, and there it is, that class that I just made. And I'm going to have that due on Friday, so Corbin finishes it. And the other option I have here is that I can offer that it will show him the answers when he's done with practice. And this might help him learn. You know, the whole point of this is learning. So I'm not trying to assess him and things like that. I'm just trying to help him with some tools to help him learn. So I'm going to turn on the answers. That sounds like a good idea. And there you go. And then I can go to the next section using this little arrow, 2.2, and maybe I'll assign that one to him also. There's the class, and I'm going to have that one be due on Monday. So there you go. So this is how you would create a class and assign to it there. So I think that answers your question of how would I work with my class over the summer to do that. Let's see here. There's some other questions in the window here. Any thoughts on assessments, though? Well, I guess assessment is one of those things that is very subjective, meaning that what I feel is important to learn about the characteristics of life might be different than what in my district or my state, our state standards dictate are important. So it kind of depends on where you're from, what country you're from, your Ministry of Education, all of these different factors. So CK-12 has really always focused on learning. We're here, we want to help you learn. And the kind of the finesse of what is valued or what is necessary to prove mastery is definitely something that varies from city to city, state to state, country to country. So it is one of those things that the CK-12 intentionally stays back from a little bit. Of course, we have teachers that are creating summative assessments on CK-12 all the time, and they give them in quizzes. Like these exist, and you can use CK-12 to do that. But over the summer here, what we'd really strongly suggest you do is just get your students on and practicing. Think of this as like soccer practice. They can't just always play the World Cup. They got to practice and build skills, and CK-12 is the place to do that. All right, Lindsay, other questions?
Several questions have been coming in about learning management systems, which you've been discussing, and about Google Classroom. I think several people were asking if they use Google Classroom, do they need to set up a CK-12 class? And the answer is no. You pick one or the other here on your menu options, either CK-12 classes or Google Classroom. But maybe, Carl, for our Google Classroom users, do you want to briefly tell them what that integration is going to look like for them?
Sure. And let's see here. I'm on the Jumpstart account. It might let me in. Jumpstart. Yeah, here we go. So you can see here, it looks very similar to, once I clicked on Google Classroom, I have the option of picking some of my classes that are already set up in Google Classroom. And if you're a parent right now, just sit tight. We'll get through this, and this doesn't really pertain to you. But for teachers that are already set up on Google Classroom, this is how you do it. And you simply click here, just like we did with the CK-12 class, choose your due date, and click assign. And I'm not going to do that because I'm not sure who's in this Google class. I think it's just a demo class. But yes, using Google Classroom is very simple. And then you have an assignment. And then once your students have done the work, you'll be given a link to get all the great information about how they did, how much time they spent, all this, this stuff that you would normally see through Google Classroom.
Okay, we still have a few users who are asking for the difference between a FlexLet and a FlexBook.
Sure. Yeah, so let's go here right now. And let's go to the Explore menu and let's go to FlexBooks 2.0. And these are our full courses, if you want to think of them that way, complete courses on a variety of topics, including all of middle school and high school math and science. So you'll also find here courses on economics, geography, government. So these are your kind of the content that you'd need to do these courses. And what we've done with FlexLets is we've said, okay, if my student's going to work over the summer, I don't want to just throw this big course at them. I want to pick the most important key concepts and have them review that so that they can, brush up on it and be prepared for the next year. And so that's why we've made the FlexLets, which are smaller versions of the key concepts from the FlexBooks. So just think of them as smaller, more focused FlexBooks.
Okay, looks like our team's flagged a couple more questions. Can you click on more than one item within the FlexLet when assigning?
Yeah, so we require you to assign each lesson, which is the lesson and then the corresponding practice. That's one package. You have to assign each one of those separately. Okay, you can't just go in and say, I'm going to assign this whole chapter at once. So there's no batch assigning. So you'll come into each one of these lessons here and you will click assign and give a due date and a start date and that kind of thing.
Okay, question from a user. Do you think that FlexLets can be the main source of learning for my high school special education students? I work with students who are ADHD, LD, ED, etc. Looking for your opinion.
Sure. And my response is absolutely, these are great. And we have a lot of students with IEPs or that are in special ed because it's content that's digital. There are ways, for example, you can get a plugin so that it can read the page to your student. Okay, that's a Chrome plugin that is available through Chrome, not CK-12. But you can also increase the font. If you see that there's just too much for the student to process, you can actually scaffold it, and you can create a version. You can customize it, and definitely take a look at our webinars on how to customize a Flexbook. And we have a lot of special education teachers that are customizing Flexbooks for each student because they have specific needs to help them learn the way they learn best. So yeah, we have across the board, a lot of the special ed issues can be addressed very well on CK-12.
Okay, I think we're about to wrap up questions. Looks like, can we share a customized Flexbook with other teachers is a question that just came in.
Sure. So anytime you make your own version and you customize it here, and like I'll do this so quickly, and I'd love to show you here. So let's say this is Mr. Haley's prep for seventh grade math. I've made my own version of this now, and maybe I'm going to take out this parent teacher edition part here because I don't want that included, and I'm going to save it. So this is now my version of the book, and I can share this URL right here with anyone, other teachers, and then they can go and they can click customize when they open it, and they can make their own version of it too. So everything on CK-12 is fully customizable, and we really encourage you to put it in the right order that you have it. Take out the stuff you don't need and add in any additional content that you think that you need for your specific district or state or country. And I think with that, Lindsay, we have wrapped this up. And so hopefully we'll see a few more of you tomorrow for our webinar that's part of our Certified Educator program. But feel free to reach out to us and ask any questions if you have any. But we'd love to have you post on Twitter and Facebook to hear how it's going with your summer learning with CK-12 FlexLets.